I'm here with Michael Venom Page ahead of his highly anticipated bout against Mike Perry, Platinum Perry. August the 20th is your bare knuckle fighting debut, BKFC debut. How are you feeling before the fight?
Yeah, no, I'm just I'm kind of the calm before the storm. Just going through the processes of the training drills, the weight cutting, and everything that goes along with the preparation. But yeah, eager to get to that fight day.
Yeah. Obviously, Mike Perry's been very vocal in the build-up to the fight. He said a lot of things as typical Mike Perry. What have you made of his antics in the build-up to this fight on August the 20th?
No, you said it just now, typical of Mike Perry. So it's not something that I didn't already anticipate him doing. So, it's not something that kind of bothers me in any way. I kind of anticipated it. I kind of anticipated a bit more, to be fair. He's been a bit more tame. But, I'm just looking forward to it. Regardless of what's said beforehand, it's all about what happens on the night.
What you've shown throughout your career is your ability to adapt to different disciplines when it comes to combat sports, whether that be boxing, whether that be MMA, whether that be kickboxing. How's the transition to a bare knuckle fighting been?
Obviously, I haven't actually done the actual event now yet. But for me, the training side of it has just been boxing. You can't spar bare knuckle because there's too many cuts and stuff that could happen. The closest thing to that is just MMA gloves, boxing. Yeah. You see what I mean? And like I said, just doing some conditioning work. But other than that, it's not, for me, if you're comfortable boxing, it's not too far a transition, but obviously feeling bare knuckle is going to be different. This is why, on the night, I'll let you know after.
And talk to us about the difference in terms of the range when it comes to bare knuckle fighting as opposed to boxing or kickboxing or MMA.
Yeah, I guess it differs, but at the same time, you have less time. I find it more of an intense pace just because you have less time in there. It's 2-minute rounds. So it means you get to work straight away, where I feel like in boxing fights, you have a bit of, patient feeler out round. You don't have that kind of time. It's like, let's go straight to action, which is why their fights are so entertaining, I guess. So I think in terms of distancing, I'm only the way I'd normally fight is just managing my distance, controlling the distance in front of me with my movement. And that's it. That's all I can do is keep being myself.
And you've talked about your inability to spar because of the nature of the sport. Is getting a cut or a serious cut in this fight something that worries you in terms of your future careers in other disciplines?
No, not at all, because if that was something that worries me, it'd worry me in my training for MMA. It's the same thing, When you're doing wrestling, I've been cut myself and I was going for a takedown and literally hitting somebody's hip. Now, if I was worried, I would never do it again, but you can't. You don't progress that way. So these are injuries and so all these kind of things that can happen and potentially happen, especially when you're training as hard as we train. It's just part and parcel of that journey. Sometimes it can happen and it's unfortunate, but it doesn't mean you don't train as hard and you don't keep pushing in the same way. And
how do you see this fight going on August the 20th between you and Mike Perry?
Yeah, I just see me going in there having a lot of fun, and he's going to go from... it's like he's going to look like he's been out in the sun all day. He's going to be very red after.
Can I get a prediction in terms of how you end it?
It's definitely going to be a beautiful KO.
And let's shift gears a little bit. I've been following your MMA career for quite a long time. You had a close split decision loss for the interim title in Bellator for the welterweight title. When will we next see you in the cage fighting for another title in Bellator?
So we're looking at the December, January, that kind of time. And this is the reason why I was able to kind of get this in between. Because they had kind of, after I had lost the first time I had lost, I was active, straight back on it. I was making phone. After every fight, I was like, yo, when can I fight again? When can I fight again? And I had 5 fights that year. This time I was exactly the same. Lost the fight. Okay, yeah, what's going on? When can I fight again? And they wasn't able to give me... because they said that all their shows that they had already booked up. We don't have any places, there are no slots. So I was like, cool, I need to go and do something else. I need to look, I was actually looking for boxing. I actually didn't consider this until it became an option. And straight away I was like, yeah, let's make it happen. Bellator were happy for me to do it with the time that I'm going to have off anyway. And then, yeah, now we're here.
And you said you didn't consider this originally, but depending on how the fight does go on August 20th, is this something you can see yourself doing again in terms of bare knuckle fighting?
Yeah, 100%. Again, I have to feel it, I have to experience it. Is it something that I definitely do like? I believe I'm going to, but I have to experience it first. It's hard to say without actually doing it. But with how I feel about it, yeah, I definitely see myself coming back doing another one.
And you're a man with an extensive highlight reel. That's kind of been a feature of your career. My favourite of your knockouts was the flying knee on Cyborg. Obviously, that's the go-to one. What's the highlight of your career?
You know what? Someone actually asked me earlier on, and I think it's that moment, but for so many different reasons. Not just because of that. I feel like I was still my hype was building up. You know, people kind of heard about me. They've seen a couple of videos before, but that one really made a stamp on across the board of MMA. I won awards for that knockout. You know what I mean? It's something that a lot of people do till this day remember and remember me for. I have youngsters that are like, oh, that's the Pokemon guy. Like, you know what I mean? So that's definitely a significant kind of KO in my career.
And we've seen the exponential growth of MMA in the UK. We've seen some Bellator events, we've seen some UFC events. What do you make of the growth in the sport in this country at the moment?
Yeah, it's great. It's good to see combat sport actually being something of a bit more significance outside of it just being boxing. Combat sports in general, people are kind of a lot more open to it. For me, my goal is it should be in schools and stuff. It should be something that, because I know how much it did for me, as in keeping me out of the negative stuff on the roads. So people always see it as a negative thing, but the amount I learned socially, in terms of interacting with people and so many multicultures, because I was traveling up and down the country every weekend, going to Manchester, Birmingham, Scotland, Ireland, going all over, meeting all different types of people, keeping me focused, disciplined, just how composed you are, how calm you are, because you're just confident in yourself. It builds your confidence. There's so much it does for people. Even when I was teaching kids, you see the difference in the child when he first comes in to when he's leaving. It should be more in schools, but I feel like more that people understand the combat and respect the athletes, not just the brutal looking side of it. The more they'll be willing to allow their children into clubs, or the clubs getting into the schools.
And speak a little bit more about that. Obviously, you and your brother run Hands Down Academies, and it's speaking to what you just spoke about there. How are you looking to grow MMA at the grassroots level in this country?
It's just about giving the children more access to it. Do you see what I mean? So whereas I was fortunate that my parents did it, not everybody is, and this is what I mean. If it's in places that kids are going to be around, and I've been into Pru's and so many different schools where kids are very misbehaved, but you see the difference, the absolute difference in them. And the Hands Down Academy is just one school. I'm fortunate to be a part of that with my brother. We have it in America as well. So I'm just hoping to continue growing that.
I'm a big fan of MMA. I'm going to throw a cheeky question in here. Every time I see a video posted of you doing an interview anywhere, people are asking, when's he going to be in the UFC? You're the biggest fighter, or maybe one of the biggest stars, not in the UFC at the moment, obviously contracted to Bellator. Are we ever going to see you in the UFC and make your Octagon debut at any point in the future?
No comment.